Thanks for joining me on a Thursday night, 7:30, not a bad slot. So, I think I'll probably only talk for maybe half an hour, but if you want to ask me any questions, anyone can either type it in the little chat box and I'll get to it to the end, or you can always just interrupt me. I don't mind. So either way. But yeah, so there's a little bit of a lag between the screen that I can see and what you'll see because of the internet. I don't know, there's about 15 seconds. So if I'm going too fast, just let me know, yeah? So anyway, so let's get started. It's a little this trip, probably more than any other trip, is a bit difficult for me to explain because the place is so massive and it's hard to put it on a screen, basically. And the second thing is that I just love the trip. That's why I've been done it twice now in 2 years in a row and been there because I just love being there, doing this exact same trip. So yeah, it's a bit difficult for me to really tell you in words how impressed I am about this trip. So hopefully I do it a good service, yeah. Let's see if this thing works. It works. Here we go. Can everyone see that old picture of Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary?
Yep.
Yeah.
Ah, good. Okay, so maybe it's a little bit quicker than I thought. Yeah, so of course this is an iconic picture of the two first people to climb Everest, and they really made Everest famous. It's the third pole, but Nepal itself wasn't really touristed until the 1970s. So still, well, 1953 this is. So it took about 17 or 18 years before tourism started to kick off in Nepal. So, but everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of people come for Everest. And this guy here is George Mallory, and that's his wife Ruth, who you probably heard of him too. He was a tragic Everest wannabe in the 20s. He went to Everest 3 times. They said that Everest was his mistress, basically, and he left his wife and kids behind to climb Everest. And he and Andrew Irvine, he's the other. Can you see the picture with the two guys on it and the Everest in the middle?
Yep.
Yeah.
So Andrew Irvine is his buddy on the left. So two very handsome blokes and young blokes trying to make a name for themselves, and they tragically died uh, in on Everest in 1924. And so Everest drew them as well. And I don't know if you've seen it in the news, but see this, there's a sock here. Well, Andrew Irvine and Mallory fell off Everest and fell into a glacier. And now the glacier, because glaciers move, has now started to spit them out, basically. And they found Andrew Irvine's foot the other day, or a few weeks ago. His foot was still in the boot, but the foot was broken off from the leg, and they know it was him because his sock was embroidered with Irvine on it. And Irvine had a camera, and they were trying to find this camera because there's still this speculation that Mallory and Irvine reached the summit, and they're always wanting to try to find out if that actually happened. If they find the camera and they find a photo of them standing on the summit, then they obviously didn't return. So anyway,
Amazing.
this is what Everest looks like. And this is actually, I know exactly where this photo is taken from. This is not my photo, it's somebody else's. But now that I look at it, I know exactly where this is from because you'll see this view from the helicopter, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But Everest is 8,849 meters high, and they say its mass, so it has such a huge mass that if you stand at the base of Everest with a cup of water, the water actually is attracted to the mass, like it has a gravitational pull. It's pretty amazing. And I don't know if you've heard about this guy called Morris Wilson. He was a real wacko. Maybe I've told a couple of you, but there's this guy called Morris Wilson in the 1930s, and he thought he could crash his Gypsy Moth, which is that aeroplane on the front cover of the book, into the side of Everest, and then he'd climb to the top, because still no one at that time had climbed it. Because at that time, Nepal was closed to the rest of the world. They only opened up in the 50s, and Tibet was really restricted. They were like um, kingdoms that were really cut off from the rest of the world. Anyway, this Morris Wilson, he ended up flying his plane to India, but he had to walk through Tibet dressed as a like an emperor or something. Like he had to be disguise himself. He ended up climbing up part of Everest to about 20,000 feet, but then died of exposure. So it's a great book, by the way, The Moth and the Mountain. Incredible book. So I'm not sure what reason you all have to go to Everest, mate. Obviously not to climb it, like me, not to climb it. What I'm trying to get to is that it seems to attract a lot of people for whatever reason, yeah. And I guess one of the main reasons is because it's the highest mountain in the world. Hey, you can see on this main picture here, basically the trail. So you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, there's Kathmandu, and that's where we fly into. And then we fly from Kathmandu to Lukla, and then we start walking from Lukla to Hotel Everest View. So we go by Pakting, Namche Bazaar, and Hotel Everest View. And we also go to a place called Kunda Peak, which is 4,200 meters. I'll talk about the meterage and all that sort of stuff in a minute, yeah. But let's fly to Kathmandu together. So Um, most of these images I took just last week, so you can see it's a very colourful town, Kathmandu. It's a little bit like India, but it's not as edgy. You know, it's not as busy. People are far less aggressive, um, but there's still all that great food and interesting culture. So it's mostly Hindu and Hindu and Buddhist um, that live there, and then they have great temples and great food. Like you see, there's a lot of big Tibetan influence in Kathmandu, and then they have some great hotels as well. So um, yeah, so it's a fascinating place. Great shopping, and it's very nice. I really like Kathmandu. On the second day that we arrive, we'll do a tour of Kathmandu. So you can see the bottom left-hand corner, it's Pashupatinath. It's can you see that with the smoke rising?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a Hindu temple, and this is where they cremate their bodies. So you go there and you can see a funeral basically. Um, so yeah, it's quite a moving scene. I'll just zoom it. I'm going to zoom in. Saw this today. So can you see this guy here?
Yeah,
See him in the water?
yeah.
Well, when the body's cremated into ash, some bodies have gold in their teeth and what have you, and he's in the water scraping out the gold
Oh
that
dear.
falls in. It's amazing. Like, how's that for a job? Anyway, we go to Durbar Square, which is really famous. We go to Buddhanath Stupa, where a lot of Tibetans went to after the Chinese invasion. And then here's one for the electricians. Have a look at that for some wiring.
Oh
Crazy.
dear.
It's like that everywhere. I don't know how they do it, but it seems to
Yeah.
work. So anyway, so that's what we do on the second day. Where we're staying is the Nepali Gar. So it's a large portion of the population are called Nawari, and there's this particular Nawari architecture throughout Kathmandu. And this hotel, which is a luxury hotel, is in the Nawari style, and it's right in the heart of Tamil. So Tamil is sort of the tourist district of Kathmandu. It's where all the funky bars are and the restaurants and the shopping and all that sort of stuff, So, yeah, you're really right in the heart of it. And you're staying in a really very, very nice hotel. We used to use the Shankar, which is an old palace. It's a very nice building, but there's a couple of things, reason why we changed is one, it's starting to get a little bit dated. They haven't really updated it much. But the second is that it's a 10 or 15-minute walk from Tamil through the streets of Kathmandu, and it's just a bit too far away. So this is a very, very good hotel. Very, very nice. So everyone enjoyed it last week. And of course, Kathmandu is perfect for any last minute shopping. So I'll talk about this in a little bit more detail later about what to bring and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So from Kathmandu, we fly to Lukla. I thought I'd show you this video because everyone talks about the Lukla airport. So I'll show you a video. This is actually of an aeroplane taking off. It's not one of landing. I haven't got one of landing, but you'll see this is called the Edmund Hillary Airport, and it's basically built on the side of a mountain.
God.
And yeah, and this is the airport's on the left, and they come in and they fly up on the runway, and yeah, it's pretty amazing place, to be honest with you. And the heliport is down here. This is where the helicopter will return to, and I'll tell you about this later, to refuel before we go to Kathmandu. All right. Did that video come through okay?
Yeah.
Not too jumpy? Okay.
No.
I can't see the video. Oh, the video, it's just like a
Still.
photo for me.
Oh, does it? What have you got on the screen now?
Our journey begins.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, okay. I don't know. So the video didn't work for some and not for others. Is that right?
I saw the plane take off.
Oh,
We
Yeah,
saw
that's
the
about
plane-
all. That's all it is.
yeah, we saw the plane take off. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is Lukla. So we're in Lukla now, and this is basically the start of the trek. And you can see the middle picture that dog's not dead. It's having a sleep. Like all dogs, they just like to lay in the middle of wherever they are. And the dogs are really well looked after. You'll see a few dogs on the trail, but they're very well looked after. And Lukla's a small town, so it probably goes for about 300 meters like this. Little coffee shops. You can get Lavazza. You can see Illy on the right-hand side, Illy Coffee. There's cake shops and all that sort of stuff. And there's sort of some last-minute shopping there as well. And then you can see in the top right, this is the start of the trail. So this is Pasang Lamu Gate. And Pasang Lamu was the first Nepalese woman to summit Mount Everest. And so she's commemorated here. On the right, there's a little museum you can go into. But this is the start of the trail. And I can see these two here. Can you see them? I've got the cursor on them.
Yeah.
She's 70 years old, this lady, and he's
Wow.
70 as well. Exceptional, but she's an exceptional athlete. She did the Hawaiian Kona 10 times. It's like one of the hardest races in the world. Anyway, everyone, you can probably see yourselves in some of these people. But everyone had a really great time. So I'll go
And
back
was
to
it most of their first time?
In some of them, it was their first time to do a trek. Yeah. So a couple of them have already booked on for the Tour de Mont Blanc next year from this trip. Some of them are going to the Dolomites next year now. Like they've booked on Dolomites trips after they realized that they just loved it. So,
Yeah.
and they like, I think they like the style in which they're doing it. And
Yeah.
and you guys have been on our trips, so you understand that sort of style. So
Yes.
that's me being funny.
Actually, a
So
lot
that's
of
up
people.
in, hey?
I'm not laughing, Pete.
Oh, I know you wouldn't, Craig. That's fine. It's okay. You're laughing on the inside.
Oopsie. I've done something.
Okay, so what to pack? So
You,
there's a
you with a plat mustache.
it's called Old Man's Moss. You see it a lot in Papua New Guinea, but it's all over the world, and that's actually in Nepal. I just put that on this. So anyway, there's a 15-kilo limit of luggage to Lukla. That's including your day pack and your duffel bag that we'll supply you with. So you think, oh, that's
Yeah.
not a lot, yeah, but it's plenty because you don't need a sleeping bag for this trip, which normally weighs a couple of kilos and takes up a lot of room, yeah. So so 15 kilos is fine. Also, I tell everybody to wear their jackets and a few heavy things the day we fly, so that doesn't get weighed, you see. So
But you can leave stuff at Kathmandu, yeah?
yeah. So you can leave gear in Kathmandu at the hotel. Yeah,
Mhm.
no problem.
Cool.
And the secret to it all is layering. So it's just thin layers with a duvet jacket on the outside if it gets really cold. Okay, so down jacket, polar fleece, gloves, beanie, scarf, thermals, day pack. They're the main things. Yeah.
And what was the temp when you were there a week or so ago?
Yeah, so and I'll talk about it a little bit later, but the only time we do it is November, right? Because the weather is just incredible at that time of year. So you want to see the mountains every day, right? So during the day, in Kathmandu, it's low 20s, I'd say, like 20, 21. And then
Right.
up on the trail, it's 10. Lukla's probably around I don't know, 6 or 7 during the day, but when the sun's out, it feels warmer, and when you're walking, it feels warmer. And then at night time, and remember, you're not outside, but at night time at Namche Bazaar and Everest View Hotel, it's like -10, -11.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit more. Hiking boots and woolen socks are the next thing that you need to do, need to take. It's very, very important. Um, The sun hat and sunscreen and sunglasses. So even though it's cold, you still need these sort of things. Otherwise, you'll get a little bit burnt. And we'll send you a packing list, of course, of all the stuff that you need. And then if you forget anything, you can get it in Nepal. So they have a lot of rip-offs there, but they also have the real stuff as well. So if you needed something from a proper branded shop, then they've got them there in Kathmandu, okay? And the prices are very good. So that's Lukla. And then from Lukla, we'll go to Pakting. And I'll show you a picture of Pakting in a minute. But you'll see that we fly into 2,800 meters. So you already will start to feel a little bit of the effects of altitude. Not very much, but just a little, like you just might be a little bit out of breath and what have you. But we walk down to Pakting. So that's about 4 hours. It's a relatively short day, and you'll sleep a bit lower than where you flew into. So it's not a big day as far as hiking and altitude is concerned. Yeah. But then the next day after that, we walk up to Namche Bazaar, and that's the first challenge. So around here is a river, and you got to cross the river. It's called Hillary's Bridge, and then from there it's about 3 hours up to Namche Bazaar. So that day, the second day is about 7 hours approximately, and 800 meters in ascent. So that's the first day that you will really feel the effects of altitude. Just walking slow, and we always walk slow, making sure that we're taking deep breaths. So. And this is Namche Bazaar. So it's actually a very big town along the trail, and it used to be a trading town between Tibet and Nepal. The Chinese have closed the border now, so basically relies on tourism. Um, yeah, mainly tourism for an income, and it's just surrounded by mountains, basically. And here's just a few photos from it. And Namche Bazaar will be the first, the first place that you'll see Everest. So if you go to the bottom left, this is Tenzing Norgay Memorial, and you can see where my cursor is. That's Everest there, and that's Lhotse here. So these are the two big mountains, and we stay further up the valley, much closer. You'll see in it soon how much closer we'll be, but yeah. So here, this top left image is the rocks from the Dead Sea at lowest point in the world and the highest point in the world of rock from the top of Everest. But it's a very busy town in the sense of there's always something going on, a lot of trekkers and a lot of donkey trains and all this sort of stuff going through. You can even get a shave. I got a shave there with the boys. You have a nice cup of coffee and a chocolate cake, or I had a cinnamon scroll there. So yeah, it's very, very nice. I really like Namche Bazaar. We spend 2 days in 2 nights in Namche Bazaar. It's part of our acclimatization. Okay. So acclimatization can affect anyone no matter their fitness level and no matter their age. All right. And sometimes you can go have no problem with acclimatizing, and then the next time you might. Although the more times you go to altitude, the less chance of getting altitude sickness. We've got to ascend very gradually, which is what we do on this trip, and that's why we spend 2 nights in Namche Bazaar. And every day we take people's oxygen sats using a pulse oximeter. And even though it's not completely accurate, it is accurate to the point that it shows you a trend. So let's say your oxygen sats were 84% in the morning, or at night time, and then your oxygen sats in the morning were 90%, then showing a very good trend that you're actually acclimatizing, okay? Hydration and eating are vital. So we've got to drink as much water, not alcohol, water as possible, and eating is very important. You'll sometimes lose your appetite, but you've got to try to keep eating all the food. Extra nights at higher altitudes are important. So we'll have 2 nights at Namche Bazaar, and then you're at Everest View Hotel for 3 nights. So you'll be staying at the same altitude for a long time, so you'll be very well acclimatized by the end of the trip. Mild altitude sickness is common, such as a slight headache and loss of appetite. And if you just take a tablet, on this trip that I was on, I got a little headache a couple of times, just popped a Panadol and was gone within half an hour. It's important that you have an expert who understands altitude. So our guide in Kathmandu or in Nepal and the staff at the mountain lodges, especially Namche Bazaar and Everest View Hotel, are experts on altitude sickness, and they know how to treat it, and they know the signs of when someone's not acclimatizing and what needs to be done. And acclimatization walks are vital. So when we're in Namche Bazaar for the 2 nights, the day after we arrive, we'll go do a acclimatization walk. So we'll walk up a little bit higher and we'll come back and sleep a little bit lower. Okay. Does that all make sense?
Yep.
I'm just trying to allay the fears of acclimatization. It's not it's something that can easily be mitigated and can be solved. So
I think it's just accepting it's possible you'll get something, so you're just managing it at the time.
correct. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As part of the trip, this is actually on the way to Everest View Hotel. So between Namche Bazaar and Everest View Hotel, which is only a 1.5 hour walk, maybe 2 hours maximum. So it's only a very short distance. We'll stop off at this new museum called Sagarmatha Next. And what they're doing is they're repurposing waste from tourism. So there's a whole heap of collection points along the trail, and they used to just bury the waste in places that were away from what you could see. But now they're repurposing into art, or they're breaking it down into other products, or they're refashioning it into new products like glasses. Like, for example, a green glass Perrier bottle. Pardon me. They're cleaning, and then they cut the middle of it, and they, pardon me, they have they turn it into a little glass. Like Irene and I've got a couple as cocktail glasses here, so they're very nice. And for every trekker that goes to Everest, whether it's on this trip or any of our other Everest base camp trips or whatever, we sponsor a kilo of waste to be removed from the area. That you'll see there's little 1 kilo bags. And then when you're there at this museum, it's really cool. They have like a virtual reality room where you can go in and virtually climb Mount Everest, and everyone loves that. And then you can see here. This is made out of all this waste, and you can see the 1 kilo bags down the bottom. You don't have to carry them. We sponsor to have someone carry it out, but you can see all the stuff. Look at all that. There's just water bottles. They say that the average trekker you drinks 32 bottles of water on their trek, and the caps until recently haven't been recyclable, but they're now recycling them and then turning them, or they're repurposing them into little models of Mount Everest, which you can actually buy. By the way, the coffee they serve there is the best outside of Melbourne, I reckon. So very important to me.
Yes, very important.
Mhm.
All right.
Do you have to drink bottled water? Can you not sterilize the water somehow, or?
No. Yeah. So everywhere, all the lodges that you'll be staying at, and here's a picture of the one. This is the one in Pukting. So you can see it's very, very nice. They provide you with boiled water. So you can just drink the boiled water, or you can use that in your bottles and put tablets in. Yeah. So I think most people put tablets in. I didn't bother putting a tablet in because I think it's very, very well boiled. But yeah, so you can use just the water that's supplied to you from the guest houses. You'll only need to carry maximum 2 liters of water a day. And if you needed to get some more water during the trek, there's lots of tea houses that are open where you can buy actual bottled water from. Okay. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of access to it. So this is one of the mountain lodges. This is one in Pukting, and this is just the eating area. Upstairs there's two fireplaces and then a bar to the left where they serve up cocktails and wine and all that sort of stuff. And then our rooms are elsewhere. But I just wanted to explain to everyone that they're the most luxurious way to travel in the Everest region, and uh, they're not skimping on anything. They're very, very good. You'd be happy with this anywhere, basically. So the only issue with all of them is because it's so cold outside, the rooms themselves can be cold. But once you jump into the bed, like the beds have en suites, they have electric blankets, which you just turn on before you go to dinner. And by the time you get back and you jump into bed, it's as toasty as. So they have very thick inner sprung mattresses. They have multi-course meals. So it's all very, very good. It's very, very good. And they're
And the
nothing like the
meals,
tea houses.
meals
Hey, sorry.
traditional sort of, is it traditional sort of food or
Yeah.
variety? Mhm.
Yeah, it's a variety, but mostly it depends on where you are. Like in Pukting, it's mostly traditional. In At Namche Bazaar, they'll have one traditional night and one sort of Western night. And then at Everest View Hotel, they have a set menu as well. Because it's Japanese owned, they'll have a Japanese night. They'll have like a Nepalese night. They'll have a Western night. But if you want something from their menu, like filet mignon, they serve filet mignon. So you just have to tell them after lunchtime, oh, look, I'm not going to have the set menu. I'd like a filet mignon and a soup. One of the guys wanted just spaghetti bolognese. So he had spaghetti bolognese. So it's very, very flexible. Yeah. All right. So from Namche Bazaar, we walk up after 2 days. We walk up to Hotel Everest View, and that's at 3,900 meters. All right.
Someone's carrying the bags of this thing.
And you can see there it is there
Um,
behind the tree line, and there's Everest. So you can see how much closer it is. Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. This one is Mount Everest. This one is Lhotse, which is the fourth highest mountain in the world. And this range here is called Nuptse. And on the other side of that is the Khumbu ice floor, or the Western Coombe. I'll show you a picture of that later, but that's where they come climbing up. If this was invisible, you would be able to see them walking up this valley up to the saddle here. So I'm just a little bit past there and then up to Everest. And there's Hillary's Step up here. Can you see that?
Yep.
So this is the view, yeah? I mean, it's
Right.
an incredible view. It's an incredible hotel built in 1970, finished in 1970. There was no airport. They had to build their own airport. And remember, most of the time there wasn't really even helicopters. Like Nepal had no helicopters. So, all right. So this is the facility. So this is one of the rooms. This one doesn't face Everest, but because this is a corner room. But the other 10 rooms, so there's 12 rooms all up, and 10 of them face Everest, and the other two, because they're corner rooms, a bit bigger, they don't face it, but you can look at Everest from your little seat here. This is the viewing platform that's only opened on the right-hand side, only open to guests, and it'd have to be one of the greatest views on the planet. There's Armadublam here, Lhotse here, and Mount Everest here. And this is at sunrise, so you can see the floor's a bit, it's probably -5 degrees outside. You can see it's a bit icy on the ground there. But on the far left, you can see a nice glass of Chilean red wine, which is very, very nice. And then the dining experiences are, outside with this sort of view or indoors. This is the one down the bottom is just the guests' dining area. So, because what happens at Everest View Hotel is people actually fly from Kathmandu up to Everest View Hotel to have breakfast or a lunch. They're there for an hour. They must feel like absolute crap. But they do a lot of that sort of business, but they don't have access to these rooms, these part of the hotel. Okay, they have to be outside. So if they fly up there and it's all fogged in, then they just don't see anything and they feel like crap for no reason. So
Is that Doogie eating breakfast with you, is it, Pete?
yeah, that was from last year. Yeah, Dougal. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I've got a video of Dougal in a second.
that's
I'll
amazing.
show you. Here we go. Here he is. So what do you think? This is his room. So you can see. Have a look at this. This is amazing. Hold on. There we go. There's the view from his room. So there's Everest there.
Oh, yeah,
Lhotse,
wow.
Armadublam. Yeah.
Beautiful.
He's a dark horse. You didn't tell me you'd done that.
He's classic. He's booked on
Yeah.
2 trips with us next year already.
Oh, wow.
He's coming
Oh,
to
we
New
saw him
Zealand
on
at
the
the end.
mount. Sorry,
He's doing
go
the
on.
Lux trip in New Zealand in November next year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so yeah,
Go, Doogie.
yeah, exactly.
Well, everyone needs someone out in front, don't they?
He was funny though last year because he liked to go out the front, but he actually went too fast, and I had to get him a horse for one section, so because he took it too fast, so he has a new respect for altitude.
Fair enough.
So the area that we're in is it's the Khumbu, but there's a village right next door, which is like 10 minutes walk from the hotel, and it's called Kumjung. And the hotel that we're staying in, Hotel Everest View, was built by master craftsmen from Kumjung. and a lot of the staff are from Kumjung. So it's made famous by the Sir Edmund Hillary School, which is in the bottom right-hand corner here. And we'll go visit there. They've got a really great little information museum with an excellent video about Sir Edmund Hillary and the schooling. Like the school ranks best marks in Nepal for any rural school, which is amazing, and it's very good facilities. These are just a couple of kids there, but it's also made famous by this monastery. And there's Dougal there, but you'll see here, this is apparently a Yeti scalp.
What's in the wall? What's
In here.
I just lost it. What's Doogie looking at?
Oh, he's just in the wall. These are all Tibetan manuscripts. So the monks will come in and they'll pray and they'll use some of the manuscripts to pray or meditate. Meditate.
Yeah.
And then there's just the sun coming through. So
Oh, yeah,
it's a beautiful monastery. It's very, very nice, very colourful and very interesting. And the great thing about this trip, that's why I get so excited about these sort of trips, like a bit like the Dolomites and a bit like the Komodo, the Lux Komodo trips, is that because we stay in the same area for so long, you become very familiar with everything, and it becomes a bit more immersive than staying in a hotel or a guest house, and the next day moving and going to another one. The landscape changes when you do that. Whereas here, it all stays the same. So, which is very, very nice. It's like when you like if you stayed 2 nights in Rome compared to 7 nights, you know what I mean? You'll just have a better experience with 7 nights because you'll know things much better, and you won't feel so rushed to see everything because you know you got time. So that's Kumjung. Actually, I'll do the Kunde Peak. Kunde Peak is another day. It's the second last day of the trip, and it's the last day of hiking. So by this stage, we'll have acclimatized, and we'll be able to walk through this valley near Kumjung. Actually, interestingly enough, if you look at the bottom left-hand corner, this is a yak farm, which we walk through, and we go up. And if you look at the big picture here, so can you see that big picture with all the people with their arms up in the air?
Yep.
So down here where my cursor is, that's Kumjung, and the hotel is just there next to it. So we come up to this Kunde Peak, it's called, and it's at 4,200 meters. So this is the highest you'll get to. If you don't want to do this section, the trail stops a little bit lower down at about 4,100, 4,050, I think it is, at Hillary's Lookout. So you can stop there if you wanted to, but it's a pretty easy walk all the way up to the top here. And this is where we have our picnic lunch. It's very, very nice. Great views over the mountain range.
Stunning.
Yeah, it's mind blowing. They're just massive mountains, and you get that sense, So here's some guest reviews. So this is from Chris. He had a great time, of course, at the on the trip. This is just a couple of weeks ago, and Dougal wrote a nice little thing. He actually just wrote that on Facebook, and then we had this is a lady who's been on a few of our trips, Mont Blanc, Dolomites, and Luxury Everest Base Camp, Sophie, and she actually went there with her husband and her 2 kids, teenage kids, did this trip with us last year as well, separate to Dougal's one, and they had just had an absolute ball. So, as they would, it's an amazing place. The other place that we go, so when we go to Kumjung, to go see the Yeti scalp and Hillary's school, we continue on to a place called Mong La. You'll see it on the right-hand side, 4,100 meters. And we have lunch there. And then we walk back to the hotel. So, all right. And then on the last day of the trip, after breakfast at about 7 o'clock, a helicopter picks us up from the hotel and flies us up the Khumbu and up over Everest Base Camp to about 6,500 meters. You don't need oxygen because you're only there for a short period of time. And above the Khumbu icefall and up towards the Western Cwm. So I'm going to show you a video. I'll pause it to just point out a few things for you, okay?
How many in the helicopter, Pete?
The helicopter takes 5, but there's only 3 windows, right? So what happens is if there's 5 in the chopper, he'll fly up the valley, drop 2 off at Perichet, which is at 4,250 meters. The other 3 will have window seats, do the flight, come back to Perichet. Those 3 hop out, 2 hop back in the helicopter, get a window seat, fly, do the same trip, come back, pick up everybody, then back to Lukla. So everyone has a window seat. Okay. So can you all see the video? I've just paused it.
Yep.
Yep.
So where my cursor is where Everest Base Camp is, just here.
Yeah.
It's not there now because they've all moved their tents because they're all gone. The climbing season is in April and May, right? And over here, this is China. This is Tibet on this side of the mountain. And you can just see Everest here, but you'll get even closer. And this is the Khumbu icefall. This is where most climbers die who do Everest, is in this part here. And you can see Camp 1 and Camp 2. And I'll show you Camp 3 and 4 in a second, okay? It's bloody amazing, isn't it?
Oh,
Looks
I've
It's
been
spectacular.
telling
just-
people that you land us at the top, we take a photo, and then you fly back to Kathmandu. Joking.
You can tell them
It
that
is
story. I don't mind.
incredible. I know, that's right. They would know no difference. I can
mean,
just
it's just-
Photoshop it.
Look at that.
Wow.
Amazing.
I mean,
Wow.
these blocks here are like 10-story buildings
Ugh,
in here. You know, it's just the immensity of the place is just amazing.
crazy.
And I'll pause it in a sec. So,
Yeah.
all right. So I'm going to pause it here. So this is the Khumbu Ice Fort. This is the Western Cwm. This is Camp 1's about here. Camp 2's here. Camp 3 is just at the bottom of Lhotse. There's Lhotse, 4th highest mountain in the world. Then they climb up here. You can't quite see it, but there's a saddle here that goes up. That's Camp 4. That's the last camp. And then they climb up
And this is Everest, is that right? Right at the top
to the
there.
summit. There's Everest, literally just there.
Geez.
And
Geez
this is
Louise.
so you can see the reason why they don't climb Everest at this time of year. Not only is it cold, but the jet stream has dropped below the summit of Everest, and that's what's blowing all the snow off the top. So that's going at about 200 kilometers an hour on the top of Everest. At this height, Everest is still 2.5 kilometers higher than we are right here. Isn't that madness? I mean, just blows my mind. Anyway,
Wow.
there you can see Camp 4 just there. So Camp 1, 2, 3, 4, summit. Now you cannot see this from base camp or Kalapatar, which is when people hike to Everest, yeah? You can't see it because they're not up this high. But look at this ice fall. Look at that, it's amazing. Look at this one over here. Looks like it's about to drop off. It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. It's mind-blowing. And then that helicopter then flies back to Lukla, where we started, refuels, and then flies us all the way to Kathmandu. Okay.
So if you have more than 4, whatever do you do? Do like 2 runs, or do you have 2 helicopters?
Yeah, well, this last trip I had 3 helicopters
Oh, okay.
because there was 12 of us all
Leaving
up.
just staggered, or
Yeah. So the first 2 were like half an hour apart, and then one of the helicopters had to be used for an evacuation somewhere else. So the last helicopter didn't get in till about 1 o'clock that afternoon. The others were in about 10 to Kathmandu.
Mhm.
So that's, I mean, it's pretty good. It's better than flying back. The better than, because what happens, so I forgot to tell you, so the flight from Kathmandu doesn't leave Kathmandu though. They've diverted all their flights to another airport about 3 hours drive from Kathmandu. So you got to drive for 3 hours to a place called Ramachap and then fly to Kathmandu, to Lukla. That's what we have to do to get to Lukla. But on the way home, we don't have to do the reverse. We just fly straight to Kathmandu. And if what I've tried to do, which I did with this group, is the first flight of the day is from Kathmandu to Lukla, and then they do Lukla, Ramachap, Ramachap, Lukla, blah, 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 blah. And then the last flight out of Lukla goes back to Kathmandu because the pilot lives in Kathmandu. And this year I actually got us on a direct flight because it was the first flight of the morning. And that's what I'll try to do next year as well. But I just thought I'd tell you. So,
and you went Bangkok to Kathmandu, yeah?
yeah, but yep. So most people do Bangkok or Singapore. That was the 3. That was the, oh, some did, one came via India, I think, or 2 people came via India. Yeah, that's right. They came via India because they went to Delhi for a week or something. So, but most of Bangkok and Singapore. Yeah. There's Malaysian Airlines out of Kuala Lumpur and Cathay Pacific out of Hong Kong
Oh,
as
okay,
well.
cool. Mhm. What was I thinking? That's all right. Come to me. Oh, like add-ons afterwards, sort of thing, because people are saying,
Yeah.
oh, Annapur or
Yeah.
whatever. I'm not really sure. So spending
Yeah.
more time.
So on this trip I went back to Chitwan National Park and we stayed at Tiger Tops and it was fantastic. It was just amazing. You know, it's a very traditional sort of place, you know, old fashioned sort of place, you know, old fashioned service, um, lots of staff for the amount of people staying there. And they just did some incredible things like we saw rhinos every day,
Nice.
crocodiles,
Not fun.
um, monkeys,
No
deers,
tigers.
elephants, of course.
It's called
Like they
tiger
set
top.
up, like they did this drinks by the river, you know, sunset drinks, you know. The guys loved it, you know, and it has a beautiful swimming pool. And then you go do the elephant trek. So you don't actually sit on the elephants. They don't do that anymore. But you hike through Chitwan with the 2 elephants and they protect you basically. So they're always standing between us and the rhino. There's one of the rhinos there. And then we go out in these old Land Rovers. And it was quite interesting going out with them. Like we'd only have like 4 or 5 people in each Land Rover. And then of course, it's a national park. So there's other people in the park and you'd see them coming past in their much bigger vehicles that might have 10 people on it. You just realize that you're staying in the right place, you know, because the service is much better. And these are the sort of rooms, you know, bathroom and very well appointed. Hey,
How far is that from Kathmandu?
so you got to fly from Kathmandu to Bharatapur, and then they'll pick you up from Bharatapur, and it's a 2-hour drive.
Okay.
So I would say it'd have to be a minimum 3 days, 2 nights, because it's not really easy to get to. Maybe 3 nights, 4 days, but I think maybe that's a bit too long. Like we did pretty much all the activities we wanted to in those 3 days because we took the early morning flight out of Kathmandu, got there at around 9, to Bharatapur, got to Chitwan at 11, had lunch, and then in the afternoon we went and did an elephant walk. And then the next day we did a um, driving safari, and then what did we do in the afternoon? We did something else. A river safari. Just floated down the river. That was quite nice. And then the next day we took the afternoon flight, late afternoon flight. And so some of them went to where the elephants were, some of them went and did bird watching, and then we drove back to the airport and back to Kathmandu. So we got everything done. Everyone had a great time. So yeah, it was very, very nice. I think
Was that your first time there?
it was my first time at Tiger Tops, but I'd been to Chitwan about 12 years ago, and but it certainly wasn't at Tiger Tops. Yeah, it was a much more budget place.
Fair enough.
That's included in that.
No, it's an extra.
It's an extra. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is a trip extension. Yeah, so basically what they do is you pay for your flights to Bharatapur, you pay for your transfer per person to Tiger Tops, and then you've paid for your accommodation and your meals, and then you just add on the activities. So if you didn't want to do anything, um, or you wanted to have a day just to relax by the pool, then you wouldn't have to pay for anything else. So but there's things to do around the resort, but you wouldn't be really able to go into the national park by yourself because there's tigers and leopards, which we didn't see.
And would that be similar to doing, a South African game park? I haven't been to Africa to do a game park. Would it be something similar to that, or?
Yeah. So this is the big four there anyway. So they have the rhino, the elephant, the leopard, and the tiger. So that's their big four in
Okay.
Chitwan.
Yeah.
And they have the
Yeah.
big four or the big five in Africa. It's the lion, the cheetah, the
Yeah,
giraffe, the whatever. So this is the best that you can do in Nepal. It's really amazing. It's down around 150 meters above sea level. So you'll feel because you've already been acclimatized, you'll feel very energized down there. But a nice way to finish the trip, I think.
Yeah.
Did they say to
Because
you,
I want
might
everyone to
see a
understand that,
tiger?
hey,
Did they say you might see a tiger? I mean, we've been to Yala in Sri Lanka, and I mean, we actually did see
a leopard.
but we
Yeah.
were lucky.
Yeah. In November, the chances
But
of
I was
seeing
just
a
wondering,
tiger
you might see
Yeah.
one.
in November, the chances of seeing a tiger is remote.
Yeah, no guarantees.
They come out. The most sightings appear in March and April when it's hotter,
Okay.
or even the best time is April. Yeah, April, May, I think
Right.
is the best time. But that's not the
And
best time to
the
see
pool?
Everest. You see.
Oh, yeah. And the pool, was that heated, or is it just?
No, it wasn't heated, but it wasn't cold at all.
Okay.
No, it was nice. Like down there, it was 30 degrees.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Bit
So
different.
so it was 30 there, 20 in Kathmandu, because Kathmandu is 1,300 meters above sea level. And then, of course, it's just much colder as you get higher up. So, but definitely something to think about. This extension is going to go on the website next week. I've just I'm just finishing up the extension for it, so I don't even know the price yet.
Our son, you've recorded this, so our son and
Yeah.
his wife, they're keen, but I don't know why they didn't realize they had to register. I'm sure I told them, but anyway, is there a way we can share? I'll send you their details and you can just share it with them, or?
Yeah. I'm going to upload this to YouTube and then I'll send them the
Okay.
link. Yeah. So if you can
Perfect.
could you just send me a reminder email and I'll send it to them? Okay.
Yeah, I'll send him your email. Cool.
I'll
send you
send
his
once it's
email.
on YouTube tomorrow, I'll send everyone the link.
Oh,
So if you
perfect.
have any friends that want to
Yeah.
go, they
Cool.
can have a
I'll
look.
just share it. Cool.
So
Thank
here's
you.
the summary. We only run it in November because that's the best time of year. I run Everest Base Camp trips during the trekking season, which is April, May, and then mid-September to December. Um, but I mean, I've been to Everest Base Camp nearly 10 times now, and by far the best time is November and December, even though it's cold, right? It is cold, but um, the views are just, it's just unbelievable. They're so good. And year in, year out, it's always the best time of year. So I don't want to send people in April because it's warmer, but you won't see a mountain. Why go there? You might as well stay home, to be honest with you. So I don't want you wasting your money going to Nepal in a time where you may not see a mountain. And sometimes, like in April and May, I've had groups that out of the 12 days they're on or 13 days they're on the trail, they'll see the mountains 2 or 3 days. You know, I just don't think it's worth it. You know, those who have been to the Dolomites, imagine if it was just all raining every day or if it was cloudy every day. It'd be terrible.
Yeah.
So,
We were lucky. We had great weather.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I could sit around the hotel for 7 days doing nothing, but
Yes. Hotel.
It wasn't a hotel.
10 days ex Kathmandu it is. So there and back. All meals outside Kathmandu are included. We do have one meal in Kathmandu at a traditional restaurant, very nice traditional restaurant as a welcome. And I'm friends with the lady who owns the Everest View Hotel, and she had us over for dinner on the last night. I'm just going to see if she'd be interested in doing that for every trip because she's very, very interesting because she is the daughter of the man who built the hotel. And her father passed away a couple of years ago, so she's taking on the legacy. So she knows the whole story, you know. She's got a great story to tell. So that would be very, very nice. Bit like going to Fitri's house for
Oh,
dinner.
that was fantastic.
Yeah. So,
Was was that the Italian lady? Yes.
no, that was Sophia.
No.
Sophie.
Oh,
No,
Sophia.
Fitri's is the one in the Komodos. So,
Oh,
and then it includes the helicopter to Everest all the way back to Kathmandu. There's luxury lodges throughout. So, tour of Kathmandu is included. There's the donation to Sagarmatha Next. And there's also, and this is starting next year. So Thomas Gustafsson, he runs Sagarmatha Next. He's about, I would say he's about 70 years old, but he looks about 50. He's an accomplished mountaineer. He tried Everest twice, but didn't get to the summit. But he's happy to come up to the Everest View Hotel to give everyone a talk about the work that he does and his climbing career and what it's like to live in Nepal because he's married to a Nepalese lady, all that sort of stuff. So I think he'd be very, very interesting. And if next year when he comes to talk to everybody, I'm going to open it up to all the guests for the hotel. So it won't be just No Roads people, but everyone, because you never know who's in the crowd. There might be a multi-billionaire who'd be happy to donate lots of money to his project. So he's very happy to come up and do a talk. And he's very engaging. Like actually at Sagarmatha Next, he's got a lot of time for everybody asking him probably the same question every day. But he never cuts corners. He always answers the questions very nicely. So nice guy. So that's a real insight for us. Yeah. So there's a lot of these little things, that you just don't get with a normal trip, which I really like. It's $7,000 per person, ex-Kathmandu twin share. And if you have a person who wants a single room, they're available. I just have, I'm not sure if I have the pricing up on the website. I'll have to find out. But if you've got a friend who wants to go by themselves and wants a single room, let us know and I'll do the best I can. Yeah.
Mhm.